Hi everybody, so I'm Barclay Brown, the INCOSE Director for the Americas, and this is part of our chapter training that we're recording at Seattle at the International Symposium, our 25th anniversary symposium. So our next training section is by Bill Chown, who's our CIO for INCOSE, and this is going to be about setting up a chapter website using the new system. So, Bill?
Thank you very much, Barclay. So as Barclay said, I'm Bill Chown, and the relatively recent CIO came on board at IW this year. And I'm going to talk to you today about one aspect of the website that we've now introduced. The new INCOSE website, as you know, supports chapters having their own website areas. And we believe we've got a much better capability there now than we've had in the past. So we'd like to encourage every chapter to utilize this resource. It's free, provides a standardized template, provides you links to all the events that are going on in your chapter, but other chapters as well, provides you access to consistent information about everything that's going on in INCOSE. So the new website, a nice new look, and one of the main categories along the banner at the top, the central blue bar, chapters and groups. That's the place that we can go and look and see what chapters we've got. So we look at the website, that chapters leads us to a map of the world, but 3 bars to let us select where are we going to work. And in this particular example, I'm going to look at the Americas chapters. For each chapter, it's listed by the geography that that chapter covers. So in general, chapters fit within states or close to state areas, but it's listed by that organizational structure. And for each chapter, the chapters have names which may or may not be very indicative of the place they are. There's a chapter named Enchantment. Which state is Enchantment in? Well, it's in a nice place, so we'll find that when we get there. But for each chapter, there's the name of the chapter, and then for the majority of chapters, and you'll see here's a gap, there's a URL that points to where is that chapter's website. There are basically 3 different kinds of URLs you will see there right now. There's pointers to the rest of this site, which is what I'm going to explore today. There's pointers to previous sites that people have put in place, locally created, locally generated, with a unique URL that points to somewhere locally. And there are pointers to sites that people had in the old INCOSE structure that are still that way. And we're encouraging everyone with an old site to migrate to the new structure, because at some point in time we'd like to take down the old server and stop serving the old websites and all the old other stuff and reduce our server maintenance and server costs. But for the moment, the old sites are still going. So you'll see 3 different kinds of URLs. But we want everyone to be, as far as possible, using the same common set of sites here, because that gives us a much more corporate look and feel to what we're doing across the whole of INCOSE, an organization that's playing together that looks like it works together and belongs together. So I'd like to encourage everyone to think about, can you bring your chapter into the common infrastructure, use the capabilities we have on offer. Now, several people have already done that, and they've come back to us and said, well, I'd like it to do this, this, and this different. Sure, we'll support that. So you have a place on the public web page. This is open to everybody, not just INCOSE members, for anyone who's interested in system engineering to look at this information and follow on and find who's in their neighborhood, what's their local chapter, how do I get in touch, what can I do. So what I want to show you today is how to set up your own local chapter under this new architecture, be able to put in place information to attract people to know more about your chapter, as well as enabling you to organize the events and activities you're doing, the sorts of things that we hear about in organizing and planning events within your own chapter, be able to put those in place and use those and manage what's going on. Now within your chapter you might do more than that. You might collaborate in other areas, and another part of our new web architecture is the Connect collaboration site. We've had Connect for a long time, but this is a new implementation of Connect, brought up to date, offers a lot more capabilities and functionality, but it is a little different from the Connect architecture people were familiar with before. But again, for every chapter, we have a chapter site available in Connect that you can use to go and collaborate, to do work, to put working groups together, to track what's going on, to keep your board of directors minutes in a secure area, whatever it might be that's useful to you in your organization. And this is for members only. It's behind the login. Everything in Connect is behind the login, and so this is a collaboration area. I'm not going to focus upon that in this particular module today, but we could add another module that talks more about how you utilize that site. So what I'm going to focus on today is putting together your own public website, the face of your chapter that's out there in the world. There's a template already built, and my chapter is Cascade. Cascade's the name of the mountains that run through Washington and Oregon. When they get to California, of course, the Californians call them something different. They're called the Sierras, but it's the same sequence of mountains that runs along the west of the United States, west of the Rockies. So we called our chapter Cascades, and it spans part of Washington and part of Oregon. So I'm going to look and use this site as my example today to go through how you would go and create what you need to do to build your own site. The template, as you can see, gives me my name, Cascade, the chapter name, but after that, some generic Latin boilerplate, filled in text that means nothing, and a space for us to put a chapter graphic. It also includes some standard things. The Incozy logo, the current 25th anniversary logo, which is the correct logo that we use today for Incozy. And it includes other information that points on to other parts of the website that collaborate between your chapter and the rest of the world. And we'd like to keep some of those standard bits of the template in place, but there's plenty of it you can change and customize to add your own chapter nature and information. But I'm going to start out with doing basically the minimum you would need to do to put in place a realistic website that shows that your chapter exists, that entices people to come and be interested, and leads them on to how to find out more and how to become a member of your chapter. So we're going to replace the boilerplate text, we're going to replace the graphic, we're going to look at providing some more information. So for each chapter, the template gives us 5 pages: a chapter home, a chapter events page, a chapter news page, a library and resources page, and an about this chapter. For today I'm going to focus on the first and the last. Put up your home page, it shows who you are, it shows where you are, make it yourselves. Then put in information on the about this chapter page so that people know who you are, how to get in touch, what goes on. Later on you can worry about filling in information about chapter events, chapter news, libraries and resources. What we see in the template in the events area is in fact a copy of, if you like, the general events that are on the main Incozy page. If you create your own events, then they will be listed along with other events, and you can choose how much of the other events to keep and how much you would like to filter out. And organize information so that it's useful to your membership. It might not be relevant for them to see all of the Incozy events on your local chapter site, but it might be relevant to show a neighbouring chapter's events, which people might like to go to as well. So, what do we need to do to change this? Well, we need to be able to be a chapter webmaster, and we need a chapter login for that, so that we can go and update all this information. So there's a special login, and on my slide set here I put a big red border around the edge of the slides that relate to, here we are doing the editing part of things, so you can see what I'm doing. So you log in, it looks an awful lot like the normal login, but instead of logging in as your normal email or name, there are special login accounts. And if you are the webmaster, or you want to be the webmaster of your chapter, and we haven't already issued an account, send in an email to helpdesk@incozy.org, and we will issue you an admin login name and an admin password to go with it. There are a limited number of these available login names, and so we encourage anyone who logs in to remember we've got a limited number of simultaneous logins. So if you're logged in and I'm going to get round to this later, I'm going to keep on hacking the website tomorrow and the next day, and I'm going to stay logged in, you may be preventing other people from using it. So I would encourage you to think about what you're going to do, prepare your ideas, log in and do it, and log out when you're done. Because we don't want to spend a lot of money on adding more and more accounts, and it costs us money from our vendor to add more admin accounts. So we'd like you to be economical with the resources we have and share them so that we can reuse the resource around our membership. So you log in with this special account, and once you've logged in, you need also to set the path that we're following up here to incozy.org/sitefinity, and that's listed when we come on a bit later. We'll look at it. And Sitefinity is actually the name of the vendor that provides us with the content management system we're using for this. So the path is www.incozy.org/sitefinity, SITEFINITY. And that, with this special login, will give you access to this view. It's the front page dashboard. What it is, in fact, is a dashboard to all the help materials that are available. There's a lot of help from the vendor. So if you're not sure what to do, there's information there. But there is instructions about what I'm going to tell you in Connect already there. It lists the site, it tells you what to do, it tells you what steps to follow, it tells you what I'm going to walk through right now. So we start by, at the top of the screen here, we see there's a little green box, dashboard, and right beside that there's a box, there's a menu pick, pages. And we're going to start by going to pages, and that shows us a list of all the web pages on the site. This is the front page of the website you're looking at. These are all the pages that are there. You're not going to mess with those. Somebody else is administering that, and in fact the system locks out you. So you can only go and deal with the parts that matter. We're going to look at chapters and groups. So if I click on chapters and groups, you can expand it, and then Incozy chapters, and then all chapter sites. And we see a big long list of all of the chapter sites that we know about. Not all of them are published in the UC externally, because we put a template in there for every single site. So in the case of my site, scrolling down, the Cascade site template is sitting there, and it has the 5 pages ready for me to go and populate. So what we need to do is select the piece we want to work on here. We select the chapters that we're going to deal with, just zooming in on that segment so we can see what we're doing. And within those set of chapters, we're going to edit the chapter home and about this chapter in this session. So we'll start with looking at chapter home, and the way to edit it is from the actions menu item over here. So we click on that actions item, and it pops up a menu that says this is what we can do, and we're going to edit the content. There's another area you can usefully edit as well, title and properties. I've edited the title on the Cascade chapter, so instead of saying in the banner at the top of the window, chapter home, what chapter? It says Incozy Cascade chapter as the header. There's actually a lot more text there. I put it in just so that when anyone hovers over it, you get a long link that shows Incozy Cascade chapter, Oregon and Washington. So you can do that by editing title and properties. I'm not going to look at that right now. I'm going to move on and look at what do we do to edit the content. So we select that edit content, and up pops the content editor, and it's all integrated into the content management system, so you just work within the web page. There's no external files to be created or changes to be made. It's all done within the content management system. And this is version managed. So if you do something and then you don't like it, you can go back and look at the version history. You can undo what you did by selecting a previous revision, and you can put it back. So it's all well organized for you to be able to do a good job with putting together what you'd like, try it out, see if you like it, you'll see what the process looks like. Well, at the very top of every page there's some generic bits. It doesn't look very nice, but we scroll down the page and we see, oh, here's the basics. It looks a lot like that template did, and it's laid out similarly. This is the editing of content view, so it doesn't look exactly the same layout. There's also an ability to go and do edit layout, so if you want to move things around, you can do so. But I would encourage you, at least to start with, to stick within the structure of the template. It works pretty nicely, and it's going to look consistent. If a prospective viewer looks at one site and another site, they're going to find that the groups look a little bit similar. So we've got a big space up here to put a chapter graphic. Some chapters have had in the past their own local logo. Here in our chapter we've got a special logo we've made up. Some of them are actually a bit antique, and I'm going to be going around the chapters and saying, really, could we update from the very, very old 15 years ago Incozy bar logo to the round one we've been using for quite a little while now, and make it all look consistent and fit in with the way other people are working. But for now, I'm not going to create a special logo for the Cascade chapter. We don't have a logo. But I'm going to put a picture in there, rather than it saying chapter graphic. A bit boring. So I'm going to go and edit. So I've highlighted up there the edit mark around that tab, and what we do is go and edit. Up pops actually a series of little dialogues that ask you What are you trying to do? Well, I'm going to put a picture in. Where would you like that picture to be put when you put it up here? Well, I would encourage you to create your own folder. You can stick it in the general repository, so there's a whole load of stuff. So if you write my chapter picture, some other idiot might have called their picture my chapter picture already. So I would encourage you to create, first of all, that gives you the option, a folder where you're going to put all the graphics and other things that you're putting into your web page. And then you can find them nice and easily as well, and they're not jumbled up with everyone else's stuff. But if you look, you will see there's a bunch of stuff jumbled up with everyone else's stuff, because not everybody's done it that way. And we're encouraging in the training, let's do that. And I've chosen to put a picture in I took out of an airplane window one day, which shows some of the Cascade Mountains. That's Mount Hood in the front, and a bit further up behind it we can see Mount Adams and then Mount Rainier, looking up across Oregon and Washington. So it seemed appropriate to grab one of these, and I cut the image down and made it the size that the template said there. So my image I saved is exactly the size of the template. If it's not, you can resize it here, you can edit it, you can crop it, you can do all sorts of things with this little edit window. But I happen to do that in another tool that I'm much more familiar with, so it was all ready. And I would encourage some image that is in some way to you relevant to your chapter. It might be a picture of the people, or a meeting we had, or a great party that everyone went to, or it might be something like I've chosen that's geographically relevant. Or you might have a fancy logo. So we selected that and put it in place, and it drops into its slot in the template, and it's a very simple operation. Click the menus, follow the steps, upload a file, and save. Now I'm going to change the text. Other thing we need to do, just change that bit of text. Exactly the same process, click on the edit. I pasted in a little bit of text, a very brief little bit of text. The Cascade chapter is the home of INCOSE members in Oregon and Eastern Washington. And we click save again, and that text replaces the area there. That's all that you really need to do to start off with a, here's my page. Doesn't say a whole lot. We regularly meet at such and such a location. We're all based in Portland State University, so we all go there, or whatever it might be. You could add lots more information to the front page. But to get us started, I put in what is essentially the basics, the minimum, to get your chapter website in place on the main web pages. And so now we want everyone else to be able to see it. So the publish button in the top left corner says, let's put it out there. And I look at the now no longer template website by selecting it from the main list, and I now see the new text all nicely arranged in the structure of every other web page. So a very, very simple process to be able to create a front page that introduces your chapter. I didn't do very much because I put this together just to give us something quick to look at for the purposes of seeing how this works. But you can put something more enticing that encourages members. We have 75 members from the surrounding area, we meet every month, whatever you might like to put up there that explains more about your chapter. You've got plenty of opportunity to edit it. But what I do encourage you to do is to say, well, I can put it there. So let's go to the other page we can change, and this is the About This Chapter page. And the template is just a big block of text. Put in whatever you think is useful there. Again, for my purposes, I put in a very short list of, these are the officers of our chapter, here's the person you should contact, given his email address in there, this is where you go. We put that in and publish it, and so my chapter page has got very little in it, but it has got some key information so somebody knows how to find who's involved in this chapter, who can I get in touch with, where do I go. A very simple introduction to the minimum that you need to do to put a website together. My chapter events page contains no local events, it just contains the overall events list. My chapter news and library pages contain effectively nothing other than the header at this point in time. Because I don't have anything to contribute to those areas, I'm leaving those. But the process of editing is exactly the same as I've just shown for the introductory page, the chapter home, and for the About This Chapter page that tells us a bit more about it. In addition, there's a lot of help about this. What I just went through is fully described in the information under the help area of Connect. So you want to know what I just said and go and look at it yourselves right now. If you go to the health area of Connect, you'll be able to see there, it says managing your publicly accessible chapter website, chapter pages, chapter home, and about this chapter essentially describe exactly what I just went through in the presentation, so it's a reference to go back and look at. And this presentation will also be made available as a further reference for people who want to see what to do next. So that's the essence of putting together your own public website. We can also provide information about how to build more information in there, put in your Connect information, other things you might like to do. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Bill. Nice.